And it kind of pissing me off. To be perfectly honest with you, I am not happy with how these players are acting on teams that they have signed a contract with and are getting paid millions of dollars to be with. I get it. You want to win. And these players are intense competitors, and all they want to do is win and win championships. And to do that, you need the right supporting staff. But if you have committed to this team, are on this team, and just have to wait a few more years, then what is the big deal? Instead of whining and going to a team and getting a championship handed to you, how about you use what is supposed to be your amazing talent and use that to make the team better? Why is it all about going to a team in a good situation instead of... Welcome to the ChadBurn Show, brought to you by M. Chad Baldwin. Welcome to the ChadBurn Show. I am your host, ChadBurn, and as always, behind running the show, we have the wonderful, the amazing Julien Renvoise. Today on our show, we are going to be covering, I think, 3 interesting topics that go over an array of different both sports and I think also social issues and some social policies. We're going to be covering look at baseball now that the MLB playoffs are starting. My team, the Yankees, are in there looking very strong. Then we're going to kind of go look at it a bit on because of recent remarks by Percy Harvin, who used to play for Seattle in the NFL, discussing marijuana and its relationship in sports. And then finally do a little NFL roundup. We're going to talk about my Eagles, who I did predict would win the way they won, as well as picks coming forward, and a little bit of this ridiculous news of Stephon Diggs requesting a trade. But first and foremost, I would like to dive into something that I'm passionate about. Many people are not. My producer is definitely not passionate about, and that is baseball.
Definitely not.
I know. Baseball is the least sexiest sport out there, and especially to Europeans or really anyone that doesn't live in North America. Baseball, or I say North, Central America, because obviously the Caribbean islands and South America is very popular, but I would say the Americas... Outside of the Americas, baseball does not make sense to most people. And I'm a little troubled by that. I grew up loving watching the Yankees play, and I loved watching baseball. My dad was huge, and it was the first sport he really got me into. And I get it. It's all about the slow. It's the pace of the game. There's not enough action happening on every single second. Well, here's what, folks. Not everything is about action, okay? We need to be able to dial back and appreciate the little things in life, the little things in sports. And I think baseball is one of those beautiful examples in the realm and the world of sports that has the small little intricacies that make us all fascinated with what's going on. And Julien, I know, is not agreeing with anything I'm saying, but Julien, in your experience, how much baseball have you watched and what is your takeaway?
I have watched enough to know that it sucks.
Oof, strong words. But all right, but like sucks. Why? Because of the pace? Is it the slow?
It's so boring.
I know. It's so boring. But I could say the same about soccer.
No.
Soccer.
At least
no
it's not
scoring.
boring for 7 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that I can hear on the 7 hours. There's a time constraint. All right. So here's why I'll list off why I think baseball, especially with the playoffs coming, can be very exciting. And to the people listening, who you may not be listening because you're a sports fan, just interesting for the more broad strokes, and maybe you've already decided and you're grounded in that you don't like baseball, but let me just tell you a little bit about the beauty of that said sport, okay? Baseball is like a dance. All right, you have the pitcher who is always scheming to figure out how to throw in, and the hitter that needs to be prepared to know what's next. And there's this dueling back and forth. It's slow action where in every little moment there's a small step being made towards a play. Okay, whether it's the shift in the field, whether it's the strategy of the pitcher and the catcher and their relationship and how they're going to attack the batter, whether it's the batter knowing and studying and understanding the pitcher and his tendencies and seeing the ball come out. It's all this, it's beautiful motion that if you just appreciate it for the little seconds in between each action, all right, so let me put it this way. If you watch baseball, at any moment, something big can happen. And that's what you're waiting for. Pitcher, I'm serious. And all right, I get it. It's funny, but it's the anticipation. I know, but it's the anticipation for the big hit, for the play in the infield, for everything. Because like every pitch, you're at the edge of your seat, not knowing what's going to happen. Because will the pitcher throw a ball? Is it going to be a strike? Will the batter make contact? Will it be a home run? Will it be a single, double, triple? How will the players play in the infield, the outfield? All of that comes into play. And there's also obviously the very much human element of it with the umps and how they call the strike zone that can cause you to create debates at home when you're watching TV, at the bar when you're having a drink. No, that's not a strike. Oh, it's a ball. Come on, ump. All of that, I think, brings a little excitement to the game. And also, and another thing that really has brought me into it is because, one, I can't play it very well. And I think baseball is one of the hardest sports to play out of all major league sports. Because if you could tell me that you can swing a bat and hit 100-mile-per-hour baseball, like you're insane. You're BS. There's no way about it. You can't do that unless you've been training your whole life for this. There's this like the fast twitch muscles that these players have is incredible. They have less than half a second to decide whether or not they're going to swing on every pitch. And that's incredible. And the flip side of it is the pitcher has this small strike zone that they need to be able to get the ball into and have that control while throwing with all their speed. I mean, if you try and just go out with your friends and throw the ball, the faster and harder you're throwing it, the more you're going to find that unless you're training for a long time, the less accurate it becomes. And these pitchers can do it with ease. And not to mention the infield and their ability that the second the ball makes contact with the bat, the defensive players react instantly. They're able to almost see the way the ball makes contact with the bat. They're able to almost see the trajectory of the ball coming out. In that split second, when the ball makes contact with the bat, the infield and the outfield, if you watch it, it's crazy. The outfield, the fielders were standing, and the second there's the contact, the fielder is already turned to move back or is moving forward because they're able to almost read it just as it's coming off the bat. And I think that's something very cool and very fascinating. And now we have playoffs. So all of that is taken to the next level because you need to be at the top of your game in all of these very skilled positions and skilled roles to win. And it's there's 7-game series, and it really weeds out that it doesn't matter if you get lucky. A lot of it is going to come down to who's the better team, who has the better pitching rotation, who has the better closers, and who has the best hitting lineup. So I personally love baseball. I love getting down to sit and watch the game. I think it's also a very social sport. I think if you're watching with friends, you can drink, there's a lot of time that you can kill. I agree it's long, and there are moments where there's not action and excitement, but those are times to catch up with your friends, have a beer, ask what they're doing in life and work. It brings people together. And then, if you go to the stadium, it's even better because you just get to drink and eat hot dogs and watch the things and feed off the energy of the people. So, all I want to say is, with baseball playoffs starting, to those that have already been thinking they don't like the sport, just give it a chance. Sit down, pound a few beers, get some nachos, maybe a hot dog, really recreate the experience, and just take it all in. I think if you give it a chance, you'll find that there's a lot to appreciate about it. And as you learn more about the sport, you'll understand how technical and the skill set that goes into it. So I wanted to lead off with that because it is timely. The wild card games have already been played. The lineups are set. I'm a Yankees fan. I know who's starting pitching against the Twins. It's going to be a great series. I'm very excited. The Twins come in with a much better lineup than they had the last few years. They led the AL Central. They have a great team that it really has got a great hitting squad. They have a solid. I actually don't have the averages in front of me, but I know that their first four are one of the best in the league. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how they do against the Yankees, who have very sketchy starting pitching. But as always, the juggernauts are the Yankees right now is all about the hitting. It's home runs, and I think in the Yankee Stadium where they have home field advantage, it's going to come down to how many more go out of the park. and can the Yankees, with their amazing closing, starting pitching, really like close out the games and save it. So I think the Yankees have the advantage. I don't think it will be a sweep. I think the Twins will take some in their own home field, but I think in the end, Yankees go on to take on the Astros for the spot in the World Series, and that will be the 1 and 2 seed going at it. So I'm excited to see everyone out there give it a chance, but let's open our minds a little bit as we get excited into the October and the hunt for the World Series. So that's my 2 cents on baseball. I hope maybe we can start a conversation with people later on, and next week I'll have a guest who is actually very much into baseball, so there'll be another conversation there. But now let's segue into our next segment for the show. I want to talk about, especially since I live in Canada, this is really a legal issue. It's legal everywhere. But marijuana and the use of marijuana in sports. I think as we're starting to see with marijuana becoming legalized in a lot of areas and there being more research, that there are a lot of benefits to using products such as CBD, which is not THC, it's non-psychoactive. It's something that helps with anxiety, it helps with muscle pain and relaxing it. It really focuses on relaxing the body without affecting the mind. And as well as looking at certain strains of marijuana that have THC in it that have positive effects on both the breathing, because it is oscillatory, it opens up the lungs for a short period when you first intake, as well as it can help with some anxiety issues. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because in an interview, Percy Harvin, who, if you don't remember, played 49ers and then Seahawks, won a Super Bowl with the Seahawks, was really a star kick returner, punt returner, and played wide receiver. But this fame came from a lot of kick and punt returns back for the end zone. I believe he had a kick return for a touchdown in the Super Bowl against the Broncos. And he was really a great college football player. So, all around a good player. But he was talking about how, and this is something we kind of covered in our mental health episode, that he was diagnosed and dealt with a lot of anxiety, and he had a serious case of anxiety and trying to battle that, and dealing and kind of going forward with how he was able to cope with that in the league. And when he did go to the doctor and they were telling him that that's what you're dealing with is a lot of anxiety, they gave him a lot of different drugs. They gave him a lot of Xanax, a lot of the antidepressants, a lot of the anti-anxiety medication that are common in most doctors and everything they're doing. But what he found that helped the best was smoking marijuana. And again, this is something that has been proven that it does help, especially the CBD in the marijuana plant, that helps with anxiety. And his quote was, he said that there was not a game that he wasn't high because of that extreme anxiety he faced. Now, in the NFL, marijuana is still banned. But what I'd like to take this conversation to the next level is, why is it still banned? It's clearly been proven to be less harmful than alcohol, less harmful than nicotine and cigarettes. It's still, obviously, there's a lot of unproven, because it's been illegal. There hasn't been a lot of studies, so there is proven that if you have a higher tendency or a genetic disposition for mental health issues or serious health issues, that it can exacerbate that. So there is a downside, but there is a lot of positives to it, and the way players are using it, there have been a lot of positive anecdotal stories of how it's helped their performance. So the way I see it is, clearly, marijuana, just like alcohol, is not a performance enhancer. It's not going to give them extra strength. It's not going to allow them to run faster. It's not really going to give them a total sense of clarity. So obviously, it's not going to improve their play. So why are we trying to take it away? The worst case scenario is like alcohol. If they abuse it, they play poorly, well, then you cut them. They lose a spot in the league. There is this still sense of accountability, obviously, that if you are going to be, smoking and you're going to play poorly, well, then you're not going to have a spot on the team. So why are we banning it when clearly they can get the marijuana, clearly they can smoke it, and if they're not playing poorly, well, then why cut them? If they have a problem, if they can't stop and it's affecting their day-to-day, it's affecting their work and it's getting cut from teams, then yes, then they need to stop. But that's a personal choice they have to make. In all these leagues where it's banned, I don't see what's the reason they're trying to ban it? There's nothing negative that's really going to happen to the team. And also the belief that a lot of people put forward, which is if you no longer ban it, well, everyone's going to do it. Well, first of all, that's been proven wrong in every state that it's actually been legalized in. In Colorado, they did not see an uptick in young kids smoking marijuana, nor did they see new users dive into it because it was legal. It's really the users that are going to continue to use it and maybe use it at a higher frequency. So really, it's not that every player is going to jump into it if you no longer ban it. And the whole fact that the whole reason they go through training camp, the whole reason they have to fight for a position, they have to fight for a contract, that they're getting paid millions of dollars, that enough should be enough motivation to them that they won't abuse it. So I think that if we really take the whole tactic of, if we kind of allow it and just go on the whole front of that, if you're going to use it, you need to perform. And if you don't perform, guess what? You're going to get kicked off the team. It's the same as a job. You can't show up to a job drunk and high. You can't show up to a job messed up, because if you do, you're going to get fired. So why not just apply that to the same rules in all these leagues? There's enough for them to want to stay in it. There's enough for them to want to really stick with the team. And if they need to, they won't smoke during the whole season. And I think that's reasonable enough. They're getting paid tens of millions of dollars. If they clearly have an issue, just don't do it during the season. But in the case of players like Percy Harvin, and they're having some, I believe, on the Eagles, it might have been Brand Books, but there was an offensive lineman who dealt with a long time with intense anxiety, and he missed several games because he just could not get out of bed and go to the game. And if we don't know it's for sure, but if, for example, something like CBD or a marijuana product could help him get over that without forcing down these powerful drugs, I say why not? So a lot of it is, it's still the whole stigma that we've been put on because of all, the propaganda and whatnot to make us think that it's very dangerous, it's harmful for us. I think that as we go along and more states legalize, I'm sure these leagues are going to come full circle. And also, once these leagues start figuring out how much money they can make by having sponsors, they're going to bring it on. I mean, gambling forever was the big sin, was the anti-thing of sports. It can't happen. It got legalized in New Jersey, and what happened? Well, DraftKings is now the official sponsor for the NFL, the official gambling sports book of the NFL. So leagues, when they know they can make money off it and they know they can kind of control it, they're going to dive right in. It's not the same in the past where players were only making, minimum wage to be in these leagues. They're making millions and millions of dollars. They can't be bribed, and they have enough incentive to not want to F that all up. All right? So I really am just on that point where I was hearing Percy Harvin saying, I felt really happy that he was able to use that to play better in games, to not feel awkward in interviews, and to do his best. So hopefully that will just open up doors and more conversation with players to say, like, hey, I as well, because Percy Harvin's retired. He's not going to face the wrath of the NFL anymore. But hopefully retired players can talk about it. They could say maybe how they used and how it helped them in the game. And as more and more research comes along, maybe we see it as a positive and more ways we can incorporate into our workouts. Out in Denver, I know there's actually several gyms that have opened up as a marijuana and workout thing, where what they do is they they don't get completely shit-faced high. They will smoke a little. And then a lot of them believe that it helps because of they believe it helps them oxygenate their blood. Who knows if it's true or not? But they're incorporating in a way that it's coexisting. It's not like just smoking and working out. They're finding ways to combine it that they find is helpful. Whether it's the way you breathe, and it's same as yoga. Like if you breathe in with it and then force it out, and then also use certain exercises that are compatible with how you're feeling. I think it's fascinating. I'm excited to see it go forward and, to hear more about the way it will impact sports and the way it'll be accepted in the sports. And hopefully to continue to, help players out. I'm excited for it. I think it's really the right way to go, and hopefully these leagues will embrace it too. So now we kind of talked about the NFL because of Percy Harvin and, his situation, how their rules are. Do a little NFL rundown at the end of the show. I think it's the NFL season. We're going to stick with it. Obviously, my Eagles, as you see on the walls, and, praise to them. They did beat Green Bay last week. If you listen to my last show where I was going through the analysis of the Eagles' season so far, I said that if they win, it'll be a close game. If they lose, it's a blowout. Well, they won by just one touchdown, so it was a close game, and it was at the goal line they got an interception. So I remember I was actually texting my dad, Julian. I said the only hope for the Eagles is a lucky turnover. And what do you know? If it wasn't a lucky turnover in the end zone. So Eagles defense came through at the end. It was incredible, very exciting. This is what we expect from them is to beat good teams, and they did. And so I think that showed a lot about who the Eagles are. I think now going down the road, they're going to be able to come together. I think the secondary is still atrocious, and the Eagles need to do everything in their power to trade for a cornerback like Jalen Ramsey. The Jaguars don't want to get rid of him, but if he's disgruntled and the Eagles can get him, I say give away the first round picks. He is the kind of talent you want. He will be around for a long time. He's still young, so investing a first round pick in him is like investing in a first round cornerback, which you'll need to do next year. And it's kind of like getting a top first round pick. So I would say get rid of one, maybe give away a second in first away in 2020, maybe give a second in 2021, and then add a fourth or a fifth and maybe a player. But I think that's what you need to do. We are getting carved by all passing teams, and we're not going to be able to hold goal line stands every single time. So I think the Eagles' offense is looking great. Defense still a little shaky, but the front is finally getting some pressure on the quarterback. I think Jim Schwartz is getting exciting with his type of blitzing and his schemes he's putting together. So as long as the cornerbacks can just survive, we should be good to go. But it's been great. I think the season's been good so far. I'm going to go through my picks in a little bit. But because I mentioned him, and I was thinking about this, Jalen Ramsey. Today as well, so Jalen Ramsey background is disgruntled in Jacksonville and would like to get traded. So he told his team, I want to get traded. And the week leading up to the last game, which he didn't play in, as he said, a back injury, because he's upset, he was first said he had the flu, so he couldn't practice. Then the next practice he said his back hurt. And then finally, and this actually was a true excuse, his daughter was born, so we went to that. But then he missed all the week of practice. So the team can't practice with him. He's a top talent, and they need him in the games. But he's asked to be traded, and they won't trade him. So he's doing everything in his power to just make it seem, it's an unhospitable situation. No one wants to be with him. Kind of like that. He's trying to get the team to really push to knock him out. But so far they're not. But on top of Jalen Ramsey, Stephon Diggs from the Minnesota Vikings has also now, the rumor mill is churning on this one, has also requested to be traded from the Minnesota Vikings because he's unhappy with the way they're passing and utilizing him in the passing game. So you Stephon Diggs, Jalen Ramsey. Earlier this year we had Melvin Gordon and of course Antonio Brown, who have all started to request trades and trying to push the team to trade. And this is not just an NFL thing. This is an NBA as well. You had Anthony Davis last year, one of the most public trade requests ever, just asking to get out of the New Orleans Pelicans, to get traded to the Lakers with LeBron. And you had Jimmy Butler, who wanted to leave from the Timberwolves and got traded to the Sixers. This is something that's becoming more, I would say, recurring theme in both these leagues. And it kind of is pissing me off. To be perfectly honest with you, I am not happy with how these players are acting on teams that they have signed a contract with and are getting paid millions of dollars to be with. I get it. You want to win. And these players are intense competitors, and all they want to do is win and win championships. And to do that, you need the right supporting staff. But if you have committed to this team, are on this team, and just have to wait a few more years, then what is the big deal? Instead of whining and going to a team and getting a championship handed to you, how about you use what is supposed to be your amazing talent and use that to make the team better? Why is it all about going to a team in a good situation instead of proving yourself as a leader and making the team around you better? Jalen Ramsey could have been the star leader of that defense, a great defense, and proven that they can shut down every team and just need their offense to score a few points to win the game. But instead, he's whining and bitching about it and wants to leave. Well, the team's not going to trade him, obviously, because they want him on the team, and they have a contract. And I don't want this to be a whole players' rights versus owners' rights. Like, we get it. There's a tons of protection for these players. The CBAs are all in position to allow, the collective bargaining agreements are all in there to protect the way they make the contracts and their decisions and everything. They have protection. They have a union. They have rights. And the owners have the same rights to sign them to a team and say, look, You're on my team. I'm paying you to play. I expect a certain level of performance. And if you're not, you get cut, you get traded, or you just wait to become a free agent, and then you can pick where to go. But instead, there are all these people just bitching and moaning, trying to get off these teams. It's ridiculous. And I do feel for the small market teams, especially in the NBA where you had New Orleans, OKC, all these areas that players don't want to stay in and they want to leave because they want to go to LA, New York. They want to be on the coast in the big cities. Fine. But you made a commitment to these teams. It'd be as if I got a contract at freelance work and all of a sudden I just said, you know what, screw it, I'm halfway through, I'm done. That's insane. It just doesn't work in our society, and I get why people are all bitching and moaning about our generation because they think this is apparent through all of us. But it's really just a small portion, and it's because that we're allowing it to happen. These teams are buckling to these players to allow them to go where they want to go, and I just think that's ridiculous. If it's a really bad situation, you have an owner who's, you had in the Clippers, for example, where you had that owner out there who was a complete racist. If you want to get out of that because of your morals, obligations, sure, I can get that. But if it's just because you have selfish reasons that you just want to go win, you don't like being on the team, man up and make the team better. Like, it's just so stupid that these players can do whatever they want, just get out because they're elite talent. And I don't think that's fair. So, that's my rant on this whole BS having the league. But, hopefully, Stephon Diggs can, get together a team and play fine. If not, screw it. For my personal reasons, I got Adam Thielen on my fantasy teams. I'm happy if he's the only good wide receiver over there. So, whatever. But it's getting to a ridiculous point, and soon the leagues are going to have to address it and figure out how to either negotiate a way to incorporate in their contracts where they can decide to do certain trades, and it's expected to come along, or the owners have to have more power to be able to squash this, and they can fine them if they're not going to play. Because I think that's where we're going. Anyways, I know. It keeps coming up, and all these players just keep on asking. It's so ridiculous. So I'm a little fired up just because I keep seeing it happen, and if it happened to my team, I'd be really pissed, but it's crazy. So sticking with the NFL and all that, we have a really awesome Week 5 coming up. Tonight, Rams and Seahawks are playing. I am taking the Seahawks. It's in Seattle. I definitely think they have an edge. The Rams look lost on defense. They allowed the Bucs to score 55 points on them. And while the Rams can score, I think the Seahawks will be able to control them. And I think that obviously Russell Wilson's just too dangerous player. So I'm going with Seattle tonight. Some other interesting games kind of looking through the week. Because they lost, I'm looking at Packers versus Cowboys. And for all you Cowboys fans out there, I'm going Packers. Packers lost a heartbreaker to the Eagles. They're playing the Cowboys, who just got proven that when they play good teams, they suck. And I'm really hoping to see the Packers thrash the Cowboys. Dak looked terrible under pressure, and in fact is the second worst quarterback right now, completion rating, when under pressure. When he's got a clean pocket, the guy looks great. But what happens when the pocket collapses? Folks, we're seeing it. Dak can't handle the pressure. This is why a lot of people have always stood behind Wentz, because Wentz makes magic happen outside the pocket. It's great when you have a great offensive line to keep you safe and clean. It all looks beautiful. The flowers are blooming. But when it comes down, the grind, the pressure, what can you do when you're outside the pocket? So hopefully he can, make me look wrong. But I don't know. And Zeke was, oof. And the other game I'm looking at, well, it's Jets-Eagles. Eagles win that by 1 billion points. The two, if you were betting and you just want easy money, Jets, Eagles, put your money on the Eagles, and then Patriots, Redskins. I think the Patriots almost have double-digit point spread because they're such favorites of the Redskins. It's insane. So Patriots are going to destroy the Redskins. The coach of the Redskins even came out and said he does not have a game plan for the Patriots. He's just going to wing it. They don't know who their quarterback is. It's horrible. Yeah, it's really bad. And the other two final games I think will be really fun to watch is going to be the Bucs versus Saints, because while the Saints still have a backup quarterback, their defense has been strong, and the Bucs put up 55 on the Rams. So I'd like to see if the Bucs can keep that offensive rolling under this Bruce Arians regime. Jameis Winston looked way better than he's looked before, and I think they can maybe knock off the Saints. So I'm actually picking the Bucs for that game. So that'd be really fun. And then finally, one that I think was going to be kind of, it's interesting Monday night game. It's Browns versus 49ers. The 49ers are undefeated somehow. And the Browns just finally won a really critical game against the Ravens to go 2-2. So I look forward to that game on Monday night. And I say the Browns take against 49ers. They've got momentum. I think they figured out a bit of a voice in their offense. They know they can run through Nick Chubb. They know they have Jarvis Landry still out there. If he gets through his concussion protocol, we don't know yet, but he has an extra day. And I think the 49ers have really been lucky and squeaked through a lot of these wins. So let's see if in the end the Browns can really come through and prove the offense they're meant to be and take it to them on Monday night, primetime football in San Francisco. So those are the games I'm looking forward to. Those are my picks for that week. I'll probably put up more picks on an Instagram page or, as we post clips out there. But the rest of the week, I'll try and keep score on myself, see how good I do with these so far, and see if I can start getting a winning record. But anyway, so that'll be my picks of the week. I think we're going to wrap it up after that with our last NFL little roundtable and segment. Looking forward to this week. Hopefully we covered some interesting topics for all you guys to listen to, from baseball, marijuana to the NFL, just covering it all. Next week, hopefully we'll be doing a little deeper dive with Daniel Jones and a fellow Giant, not fellow, but another Giants fan, as we'll discuss the Yankees results and see if we can get some more people on with baseball. And then I think we're later down the road, I was discussing with some friends, I think we're going to do a debate looking at competitive cooking and whether that is a sport. I have a lot of thoughts on that as well, so that'll be coming up in the next segment. So as always, check in with us on Instagram. You can find me at ChadBurn_show. That's on Instagram at ChadBurn_show. You can also follow on my Twitter, which is still my personal Twitter, which is at TeamBaldwin92. We will post updates on the Instagram account, and if you want to email me, it's at chadburn.show@gmail.com. Again, chadburn.show@gmail.com. Happy to take any questions on that and any segments you'd like me to discuss in the upcoming weeks. But no, just excited to get through that. So as always, I appreciate you listening in. I hope you had a good time with us. And if you want to get in touch, feel free to. But as always, have a wonderful evening, guys.